ABC Listen. Podcasts, radio, news, music and more.
It's been a huge week or so in US politics, with mounting reports that Joe Biden may step away from his campaign for re-election and confirmation at the Republican National Convention that Donald Trump is the party's candidate for president after the attempt on his life.
With faith and devotion, I proudly accept your nomination for President of the United States.
Today, we consider the role of Black and Latino voters in securing Trump's path back to the White House and why some are becoming the former president's unlikely ally. Four Corners reporter Mark Willacy takes us to key swing states where their votes could determine November's election result. I'm Sam Hawley on Gadigal land in Sydney. This is ABC News Daily. Mark, you spent 6 weeks filming in America for Four Corners and you've called it the disunited state of America. Is that actually how it feels when you're on the ground? Does it feel as divided as we're told it is?
It does. It's very divided wherever you go. We travelled all over the place, California, Arizona, Georgia, up the East Coast. We talked to people about all sorts of things and they're divided over pretty much everything, whether it's race, immigration, the economy, abortion. And, you see this polarisation on the ground, and I saw it, I can tell you, no more than anywhere else than at a Trump rally that we went to.
I'm going to look at that guy and I'm going to say, Joe Biden, you're the worst ever. Joe Biden, you're fired. Get out of here. You're fired.
The level of political vitriol, the level of hatred is off the scale. It's slogans of hatred.
Gosh, yeah, and even slapped across their T-shirts, isn't it, this sort of hatred?
That's right, and some of them are quite vile, quite sexist.
Can't get this at Walmart? Who did not get a Biden sucks Kamala swallows? Classy shirts for classy ladies. Hey, Dad, don't panic. I got kid sizes.
It's not the sort of T-shirts that you'd wear to a political rally or an event in Australia, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, Mark, what we know about this election now is that the Latino vote and the Black vote are going to be crucial. So that's what I want to discuss with you today. You travelled to 2 key swing states, as you mentioned, Arizona and Georgia, and I want you to take us there in a moment. But first, of course, this past week has been absolutely extraordinary, deeply historic.
Take a look at what happened.
Former US President Donald Trump has survived an attempt on his life at a campaign rally.
We're now hearing that President Joe Biden is actively considering stepping down as the Democratic Party's candidate.
I'm not supposed to be here tonight. Not supposed to be here. I stand before you in this arena only by the grace of Almighty God.
And the assassination attempt against Trump, it has obviously increased talk that he might win the election in November, that he has an even better chance of returning to the White House. And it's that vote, isn't it, the Black vote, the Latino vote, that are crucial for that to happen.
It is, and obviously that assassination attempt has galvanised Trump supporters. We know that. They obviously see his survival as proof that the presidency is once again his destiny. But it's these other voters he's got to win. If he's to retain the White House, he needs more than those people who believes he's some sort of deity. So it is the Black vote, whether that's in Georgia or the Latino vote in places like Arizona and New Mexico. And Trump has been working very hard, not just, appealing directly to Black and Latino voters, but just through his campaign and advertising to try and win them over.
Yeah, and we could certainly see that at the Republican National Convention, the comments that were being made there when Donald Trump was endorsed, of course, and his running mate, J.D. Vance. They're very, very aware that they need these votes.
That's right. We saw, obviously some high-profile Black speakers at the event.
Just like so many other poor minorities across America. Donald Trump shares our values. Love of God and family and country.
I did my research and looked into all things Donald Trump. I realized Donald Trump and his supporters don't care if you're black, white, gay, or straight. It's all love.
Black people were sold on hope. Now our streets are rife with crime. Our kids can't read, and illegals are getting better help from Democrats in 4 days than we've gotten in 400 years.
They're trying to get the votes of black aspirational men in particular. They see that demographic within the black population as something that they can swing towards Trump and the Republican Party because, they're the ones who are seen as the breadwinners in these families. They're the ones that are struggling with jobs. They're the ones that really have to bring home the money to pay for what is an increased cost of living. So that, again, feeds into the black vote, that they're struggling with the economy under Joe Biden.
All right, Mark. So now take us to Arizona. This is a key swing state that Joe Biden won at the last election by something like 10,000 votes. So he just won it.
He certainly did just win it, as you said, just about 10,000 votes. And if you look at Arizona, for example, and Phoenix, the capital, more than 40% of the population is Latino, and they helped deliver Joe Biden that victory in 2020, and it was a razor-thin victory. So the Latino vote will decide this state.
And you went to Phoenix, and that's not that far, is it, from the Mexican border? And immigration is such a massive issue for Donald Trump, his anti-immigration stance. It's actually key to this election, isn't it?
Yeah,
this message from him.
That's right. There are actually people walking simply over the border. I saw it. We filmed it. We were down at the border where the Trump wall that he was building ends. When Joe Biden took power, he stopped the building of the wall. And people from all over Central and South America are simply walking over the border. So immigration is a massive issue, and Arizona is on the front line.
Yeah, interesting. So almost half the population in Arizona are Latino. You went to Phoenix to talk to some of them, and you would have thought that, in fact, because of this anti-immigration stance from Donald Trump, that they wouldn't support him. But that's not the case.
Yeah, look, they're not happy with some of the language he uses. And we did speak to Latinos in Phoenix and Tucson, for that matter, who were very uncomfortable with his language. But, and it's the big but, right, that it's the economy, stupid, as they say. That's what really concerns them the most. If Trump can deliver a powerhouse economy, then they're prepared to forgive him some of his language. I talked to a guy like Eric Varela. He's from Tucson, has Latino heritage. He sees, Trump at playing a game of divisiveness.
As somebody of Latino heritage, that bothers me a whole lot. He is really good at playing the game of divisiveness, right? He's good at saying things that get people riled up.
But it's people like Eric, he's a swing voter that both Trump and Biden are really trying to nail down. And, even though, Eric Varela mightn't like, Trump's immigration policy or his language, he could very well vote for Trump because of the economy. And focus groups are revealing that the number one issue is the cost of living in America.
The price of goods of any kind, whether it's food, building materials, cars, all of that is exponentially higher than it was 10 years ago. But the wages that people are making are pretty much flat, right? So all of this money is being made, but not by the people that need to spend it.
There seemed to be this sort of nostalgia for the economy under Trump pre-COVID. People talk about how the cost of living was so much lower and wages were better. That's despite, Joe Biden's administration has created millions of jobs. It's kept unemployment relatively low. The problem is inflation. People are just hurting because of the cost of living.
All right. Okay, so that's in Arizona. Really interesting. Now take us to Georgia, because that's another really key state. And it's here that the black vote really matters, doesn't it?
Yeah, in a state like Georgia, you've got to win the black vote. It's a massive and crucial demographic. Again, Biden won Georgia in 2020 by a razor-thin margin. I think it was just under 12,000 votes. And we spoke to, a number of black voters, but one really stood out, and his name was Azad Ahmadi. And he's a businessman. He's a former US Army officer, very intelligent, driven, aspirational guy. And he's the sort of guy that Trump is winning over. He says he You know, he grew up in a Democratic household. He voted, of course, for Barack Obama. He thought he would be great. But what's driving him and the people he knows now is one thing, the wallet.
It's their wallet, and they associate the last time that they had a strong wallet and a strong dollar in their pocket was under the Trump administration. And so I think that's ultimately what's going to get people to pull the lever for Donald Trump in the next election.
And another factor is this comment made by Trump, about his mugshot. Now, we all remember he was arrested and charged by prosecutors in Georgia with illegally conspiring to overturn his 2020 election defeat in Georgia. He went out and he had the mugshot taken, and of course he, let's just say he merchandised that and monetized that, and it was on T-shirts and coffee cups. And Trump said about that the black population has embraced it more than anyone else because, they can relate to it.
The mugshot, we've all seen the mugshot. And you know who embraced it more than anybody else? The black population. I'm being indicted for you, the black population.
Now, some people really found that offensive, but not everyone.
No. Okay, so some people actually felt that they could relate to Donald Trump because of that mugshot.
Yeah, Azad Ahmadi, who we spoke to, says Donald Trump, through that mugshot is relatable to black men in particular, because he said every black family really has experienced someone in their family being arrested and having a mugshot taken, and someone's had to deal with the judicial system, so they believe, maybe Trump understands them a bit better.
The incarceration of black Americans is something that's a strong influence on our culture, and if I'm just frank, Donald Trump has done a good job at being relatable.
What the Democrats are saying is, look, if you're a black voter, we've delivered more jobs than any other administration in history for the black community. So they're defending their record, saying we've got unemployment down within the black community. Donald Trump will just, basically bring in protectionism that will cost jobs, American jobs. In terms of Latino voters, well, of course, the Democrats are saying, hey, look at his language about people crossing the border. You're probably related to people who came in that way and you've made great things with your lives. We are the party that will take you and your family and give you American citizenship, or a path at least to good jobs and to being able to feed and look after your family.
So, Mark, it's clear that Donald Trump is shaving off some of the support Biden has among Latino and black voters. I mean, he's not going to get it all, of course, but every vote matters, particularly in these key swing states. But a big issue, of course, in America is voter turnout, isn't it? Because they need to actually head to the ballot box, and that is not certain.
That's right. Turnout is actually expected to be quite low at this election compared to the last few elections. And, speaking to Republican and Democratic pollsters, they say that'll be driven by what's called the double haters. Now, double haters are people who don't like Joe Biden, they don't like Donald Trump, and they think, why bother turnout at all? And I think, depending on who you talk to, some of the pollsters believe that's more troubling for Joe Biden because it's more likely Hispanic and black voters will vote for him, but maybe some of them won't turn out because they don't like Joe Biden and they hate Trump.
What's your sense, since you've been there, how do you think this will go in November after all the reporting you've done on this? You've got to give me your prediction.
Thanks, Sam. Look, if I had to put my hard-earned on it, I'd probably say, Trump has the better of it at the moment. But I did speak to a Republican pollster who said, the thing about how it's going to go, anything can happen between now and November. And we've seen Joe Biden implode at his presidential debate with his fade out. We've seen an assassination attempt. It is such a fascinating race. But at the same time, if you're an American voter, I think many millions of Americans are really torn about even who to vote for, but even whether they vote at all.
Mark Willacy is a reporter with Four Corners. You can watch his report tonight on ABC TV at 8:30 or catch it on iView. This episode was produced by Oscar Coleman. Audio production by Sam Dunn. Our supervising producer is David Cody. I'm Sam Hawley. To get in touch with the team, please email us on abcnewsdaily@abc.net.au. Thanks for listening.